All right, so we're going to be interpreting points relative to a system. Let's see if I can get 4 in a row. All right, so we have two different lines here. We got line A and we got line B. It looks like line A is less steep, line B is more steep. So we got two different people here. It looks like we got Chana and Josiah. They started skating at the same time in the same direction. But Josiah had a head start. Oh, so here we go. Josiah had a head start right there. All right, 10 meters past the starting line. All right, so you can see that he's ahead of Chana. But Chana is a faster skater. She skated 3 meters per second, and Josiah only skated 2 meters per second. Here's a graph that shows a system of equations for this scenario where x is the number of seconds. So right now, x is the number of seconds. We can clearly see they're at the same distance at about 10 seconds. But obviously, Josiah is slower because right here, he is now behind Chana at this point. So if this is Josiah's graph and this is Chana's graph, he is now behind her. He is at 60 meters, and she is at, let's see here, 75 meters. So she's definitely ahead of him. Josiah's distance from the starting line at a time when he is behind her. Yes, Josiah is definitely behind her because she is in front of him. So this is where they're exactly equal. This is where she'd be ahead of him. This is where he's behind. This is where she technically would be behind him if you put a point over there. All right. Now we're going to go on to the next one. All right. All right, so we're going to look at this next one. It says Otto. That's a cool name. Otto has some whipping cream that is 30% butterfat and some milk that is 2% butterfat. He wants to make 500 milliliter mixture that makes it a total of 12% butterfat. Okay? Whew. Here's a graph that shows a system of equations for this scenario where x is the volume of whipping cream he uses and y is the volume of milk. So here's what I'd like you guys to do. We're gonna label some things before we go ahead and choose an answer on this. So the first thing I'm gonna do, all right, is I'm gonna put x equals the volume. Put x equals the volume of whipping cream. I don't know about you all, but I like whipped cream. Whipping, I know, I just like just right, take it out of the fridge, nobody's looking, right? Just squirt it right in your, delicious. And y equals the volume of milk. All right, and it looks like it's in milliliters. Let's see here. We got cream, we have milk. Yeah, milliliters, okay? So they're both in milliliters, okay? Now, you can see that the whipping cream has more what? Has a higher percentage of butterfat, and milk has a lesser percentage of butterfat. But we want to have a mixture that's a total of 12%. So does everybody see this part right in here? That's what the given scenario wants, okay? So check this out. This represents the, I'm going to put the cream, right? That represents the cream. And what does this represent? The milk. So you got to have a certain amount of cream plus a certain amount of milk, right? And that's going to give you what, a total of 12% of the mixture, all right? So would you guys agree there's going to be more cream than there is milk to get to a 12% butterfat? We'd definitely have to, we're actually, my bad, I said that wrong. There's going to be more milk than there is cream because we're going down in a percentage. We're going from 30 to what? 12%. Now, what does x plus y represent? X plus y represents the total volume of them together. So we know we're going to have a total of what? 500 milliliters together. So we got to figure out what does J represent. Okay? What does J represent? So let's check it out. Let's look at the x and the y value here. Let's estimate. Okay? So right up here, what would you guys say? What could J be at if we're right here? I'm gonna do a line going down, and you guys can help me out here. When I say help me out, it's my class. down and over. All right, so we're just going to make some estimates here. All right, so we did a little estimating here, and we said this was about 125 milliliters of cream. That's our X value. And then we got a lot of what? Got a lot of milk. Our milk's going to be all the way up at what? Say about 11. We're going to say about 1125, just to estimate it. So that's our X, and that's our Y. Would you guys agree that right here, if we add those together, is that way more than 500? That's way more than 500. So this is where it would be perfect. Like this is where the percentage would be 12%, and the amount of milliliters would equal a total of 500. Here we got a lot of milliliters, but we got a little bit of cream and a lot of milk. If you got a little bit of cream and a lot of milk, that percentage is going to be a lot less. All right? It's not going to be as creamy, right? This is going to be really creamy because we have what? Way more cream and not as much milk. Here we got a lot of milk and not a lot of cream. So this is going to be, as we go down, this gets what? It gets creamier. Okay? So let's take a look at our answer choices. What does J represent in this context? All right? The mixture has more than the intended volume. Would you agree that would be more than the intended volume? All right, and does it have the intended percent of butter fat? No. Would you agree that that would be the intended percent of butter fat? Okay. The mixture has the intended volume. No, it doesn't have the intended. It has less than the intended volume. Nope, has the intended volume and the intended percent of butter fat. Hold on a second here. Let's take a look at these. Okay, upon further inspection, we are deciding that the mixture has more than the intended volume because it's way up here. But being that it's on this line, it does have the intended butter fat. It just has way more volume that it needs. So are we choosing this one, guys? All right. Okay. All right, we got it right. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay. All right. So we're going to read through it. It says, Marcelina uses a blend of white corn and yellow corn to make tortilla chips at her restaurant. She needs to buy 50 kilograms of corn in total for her next order. White corn costs 30 cents. That's where they get the 0.30. And yellow corn costs 15 cents, which I like yellow corn better than white corn, just saying. When I'm making my tacos, it's delicious. She wants to spend a total of what? $12. So here we go. Do you guys see the 0.30? That's your 30 cents. That's your 15 cents. What does X represent? The amount of white corn. Y represents the amount of yellow corn. Okay? What does this point represent? That's the perfect amount, right? That represents point E. But that E represents a perfect amount where what? Where the total amount of corn bought is 50, and you got a total of $12 where it matches perfectly. So this is where everything is intended, okay? Where she spends the intended amount of money, right? And she buys the intended amount of corn. It's going to be A, or, well, no, this one says it spends less. So we got what? It spends the intended amount of money and she buys the intended amount of corn. Because where did we want to buy the corn? Right here at 50. Now, where would it be if I put the point E right there? This would be the intended amount of money. But how much corn would she buy if my point was right? Let's just make one right there. What if I put it right there? That's the intended amount of money, but how much corn did she buy in total? If you got 10 and you got 60, how much would they buy? A total of 70. So this one, what does it need to be equal to? 50. This is where they bought the intended amount as far as the like the price, but the intended amount is totally off. Okay? Now, what would it be? What about this point right here? What's this at? 35 and what? 35 and 10. This is where you would spend actually the same amount of money Because by the way, what does this line represent? It's always going to equal what? It's always going to equal a 12. But here, I'm at 35 and I'm at 10, so that puts me at 45. So that means you what? You didn't have to buy as much corn, but you still spend the intended amount of money. Okay? So this is where they're perfectly matching both. All right. And the last one. All right. A. Aiden wants to get a subscription to an online library. There are two subscription options, one of which charges a fixed $96 annual fee, and the other which charges $3 per book that he borrows. All right? Here's a graph that shows the system of equations for this scenario. What does X represent? The number of books that he borrows, and Y represents the total cost of the subscription. So let's take a look at this one. All right? So let's say you're A. Aiden. Okay? What does this point right here represent for A. Aiden? Where these two subscriptions, what does that mean? That's where they are. What do you think? That's where they are equal. Okay, that's where they're equal. So does it matter? Does it matter which subscription place he uses? If he rents that amount of books or borrows that amount of books? No. How about this? What if I put the point right here? What if I put R right there? Which subscription should he use? The red or the pink or the blue? The pink, right? Because he would only be charged what? 10 times 3, that'd be a $30 a year charge. But if he borrowed this amount of books, if he borrowed 60 books, if he used that plan, oh my gosh, what would you be all the way up here? That'd be what, 180. So if R was here, which plan should he choose? The blue one, right? Because that one doesn't change at all. All right? So this is where they are totally what? Totally equal, and it doesn't matter which one that he chooses. So let's look at them. Is that the point where the number of books and their cost, where the subscription, where the annual fee costs less? Is it where their costs charges less per book? Or is the number of books and their cost where the subscriptions are cost the same? It's where they cost the same. All right? So I don't know where your R value is going to be. Okay, listen, I don't know if it's going to be right there where it's equal. I don't know where, if it's going to, this one was also equal, but this one wasn't, right? It was up above, and then over here, this one was what, not that one. First one, I guess I didn't write on it. That was down below, okay? So this was definitely going to be where it is equal. So you just have to take your time. If you have questions, just feel free to give me a holler, and I'll do what I can to help you. If you don't know how to do that, because you don't have me as a teacher. So hope you have a good day.